Fuck, I'll keep going. Misaki High was a private school, and as such, its winter break started earlier than public schools. The end of term ceremony was in mid-December, followed by a brief respite before the next term began. Of course, that was if and only if they overcame the classic obstacle lying between them and an extended break from school. Final exams. Yeah. The radio continued its broadcast late into the night. A thermos of hot tea eliminated the need to venture down to the kitchen. An electric blanket kept away the winter cold, and a crab-shaped pastry staved off any dinnertime hunger. Crab-shaped pastry? What? These were the lengths Aoko had gone to. She needed to ensure that every aspect of her surroundings helped her pull a successful all-nighter.
期末試験1日目、ご苦労様。
Thanks.
それで、生まれ変わる覚悟できた？
Well, that's not ominous. Oh, she actually let him into her room. That's a surprise. I thought she was talking to him like from the doorway, and like they were gonna go somewhere else. But no, it looks like he's in the room. Sojiro nodded earnestly. Upon returning from work, he encountered not the maid she expected, but the demon student council president, Aozaki. Half a day earlier. The first day of exams were over, and Sojiro was about to head back to the mansion where he hoped to put his plan into practice when...
今夜、私の部屋で監禁ね。
Just, yeah, I'm holding you prisoner. It's,
夕方からのアルバイトは当然キャンセル。ちょっと本気であの点数はありえないから。
A cold blue grin greeted him in the hallway. Clenched in her fist was Sojiro's exam paper. Mr. Yamashiro had no doubt said,
ま、転校してきたばかりだし、しょうがないよね。
So she's not tutoring him of her own free will. Got it. But she had snatched the exam out of the teacher's hands the minute he tried to show her. Or maybe he didn't ask her to tutor him, and she was like, yeah, I expected this. Okay. That was how Sojiro ended up in Aoko's room, instead of the room in the attic to which he was accustomed. Though her situation was far from normal, at the end of the day, she was an adolescent girl like any other. Yeah, true. Naturally, she felt uncomfortable letting a boy her own age into her room. However, his grades were truly something that called for desperate measures. Yeah, that explained why her mood was even worse than normal today, and the vein on her forehead was pulsing visibly with anger.
先に自分の復習済ませる。
Okay.
あんたはそのテーブル使ってて。
Aoko turned her back to him and sat down at her favorite desk. Sojiro was left standing before a cheap looking glass table.
なんかいろいろと慣れないな。なあ、青崎、この青いのなんだ？
You mean the guitar? Restless, Sojiro found his eyes drawn to the guitar propped up in the corner.
なんか薄いし青いし、とんがってるし。きっと青崎のことだし。
Thin, blue, and intense looking. I kind of get what he's trying to say. Because she's wearing a blue sweater right now. And she's intense looking, she's quite thin. Or maybe that's not what he's going for at all, I don't know.
もしかしなくても、武器か。
Well, I mean... if you ask, like, any zombie game, I guess, yeah, it is a weapon. Or I guess anyone that's ever bashed someone's head in with a guitar. Yeah.
楽器よそれ。エレキはともかく、アコギは音楽室で似たようなのあったでしょ？あとこれ以上青々言ったら、そのとんがってるので殴るからね。
Yeah, Sojiro, shut up. Sojiro plopped himself down onto a cushion, struggling to suppress the desire to retort that it was a weapon after all. Yeah. He's like, this is, weird.
ちょっとは落ち着きなさいよ。いつもは耳の遠い大型犬みたいに鈍感なくせに。何か気になるものでもあるの？
In fact, it was Aoko who was oblivious for once. Really? For his part, Sojiro couldn't figure out why he felt so restless either. Suffice it to say, they were both pretty clueless in this moment. Uh-huh.
もしかして内装？この部屋の家具のグレードが今とは違うから不思議がってるのね。
Maybe that's it.
ここベッド以外は私の家から持ち込んだものなの。引っ越してから2年経つけどまだ屋敷には馴染んでないでしょ。
Though she misunderstood the real reason for Sojiro's nervousness, Aoko seemed satisfied that she had resolved Sojiro's anxiety for the time being and returned to her studies. Yeah, totally resolved. She flipped through her notes and textbooks as if fast-forwarding a tape. There was no opening for an outsider like him to intrude in her high-speed study session. Repelled by her intensity, he retreated to his table. He was at least sensitive enough to pick up on her desire to be left alone. It was a testament to Sojiro that having his needs utterly ignored was now second nature to him, to the extent that he could now happily go about his business in solitude. Oh. Two hours passed. Then, as the clock neared 11, Aoko's speed and concentration began to slip. Seeing his window of opportunity, Sojiro seized the moment to strike up a conversation.
青崎、ちょっといいかな。
ん？何？
She spoke hesitantly, not bothering to turn to face him. She continued to flip the pages of her textbook, albeit at a slower speed than before.
この3日間、青崎たちの夕食事情を見てきたけど、君たちの食事はいつもああなのか？
そうだけどおかしい？
Not really.
そう言われると困るな。ただ学校じゃみんな楽しそうだった。誰かと食事をとるってことはああいう風になることだって思ってた。だからもしかすると。
もしかしないわよ。別にあんたのせいでアリスと話さないわけじゃないわ。私たちはいつもああだから。
It's kind of sad. Aoko spoke calmly with her back still turned, seemingly unaware of what he was getting at.
張り詰めた食卓だな。
Yeah.
青崎とアリスは仲がいいと思ってたのに。
It's complicated, Sojiro. She neither confirmed nor denied his statement. She was, however, surprised by the disappointed tone in which she'd made it.
ま、張り詰めた食卓っていうのは合ってるわね。アリスが何回あんたの飲み物にメスカリンを入れてたかなんてもう覚えてないし、昨日なんか堂々とサラダの中に7かまどなんか混ざってるし。
Do I want to know what mescaline is? Oh god, okay, let me look that up. A hallucinogenic and intoxicating compound present in mescal buttons from the peyote cactus. She's trying to get him high? Oh, what? What the heck? Alice, you, where you get that?
ほんと、あの子何考えてるんだろう。
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty tame compared to what she could be doing, so... A bitter smile spread across her face in reminiscence. The pages of her textbook continued to turn.
メスカリン？
You don't wanna
サ
know.
ボテンから取れるアルカロイドよ。アリスが使う以上、ただの幻覚剤じゃないでしょうけどね。と、 私はこんなもんでいっか。
I went through the effort of looking it up myself, and not 2 pages later, the game explained it to me. God damn it. With that, she slammed shut her 4th textbook of the night. 4 textbooks in 2 hours? What the fuck? That's terrifying. Okay. After having scarcely changed position the whole night, she finally turned in her chair to face him.
さあ、今度はあんたを仕込まなくちゃね。
Oh boy.
今日の4科目の答案、実に宗十郎らしい出来栄えでそっとしそうになったわ、私。
Yeah, not going to a proper school, or a school in general, does that. Her tone was light, but her gaze was heavy. She stared at Sojiro, seated cross-legged on the floor.
原告、地理、数学、電子工学。あの調子であと2日続けたら、冬休みが消えるのは当然でしょうね。そうなると困るのは私なのよ、実際。
Yeah, I guess.
いや俺も困るぞ。休みなのに学校に行くのはなんか気が乗らない。
Sojiro calmly corrected her.
そりゃあ私のセリフだ。あんたが学校に行くってことは必然こっちまでとばっちりが来るっての。
You'd have to supervise, right? All she could think about, as much as she tried not to, was Mr. Yamashiro and his annoying grin. Yeah.
それ以前に私の目が黒いうちはオール赤なんてやつは許さない。本来なら少年から叩き直すところだけど。
That's the fact that you, I believe you. Let's say I believe her when she says that she would. That definitely seems like something she would do.
ま、あんたはいろいろ事情があるから、とりあえず点数だけで勘弁してあげる。
Thanks.
私もテストは一夜漬けで片付ける方だから、あんた一人仕込むのにそう時間はかからないだろうし。
I think you're underestimating his cluelessness about the subjects, Aoko. Sojiro's expression openly soured in response to her declaration. It was obvious he didn't think he needed her meddling in his studies. I would very much disagree.
あんたね、苦労するのは私とあなた、どっちだと思う
？You? Sojiro got the feeling that it would be him, but he nodded slowly nonetheless, like, okay. Then again, it would probably take more effort on her part than on his, and in any case, he knew there was no way to talk her out of it. Yeah, probably not.
この度はご迷惑をおかけします。
Good answer. Sojiro summarily bowed his head to show gratitude and willingness to work.
よろしい。安心なさい。私だって鬼じゃないから。
I don't believe you.
別に平均点狙うってわけでもなし。予定通りこなしていけば3時には眠れるわよ。
That's reasonable. She nodded with satisfaction, pleased by his studious attitude. He had plenty of obstacles ahead of him, but that sense of humility might be enough to see him through.
って何仏心出してるんだ私。
Yeah, true. Probably.
いいしずきくん。この後頼られちゃたまんないから釘刺しておくけど、私がマンツーマンで誰かを仕込むなんてことめったにないから。
Okay.
これはあくまで異例中の異例だって覚えておいてね。
She spoke more to convince herself than him, but his expression still darkened. It made one want to hang a sign around his. I think it's supposed to be sign. To hang a sign around his neck that read, "Please take me home," like an abandoned pet. Aoko chided herself for being so soft. For some reason, in that moment, she recalled that it had been raining the day that they met each other. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? Time passed like the falling grains of an hourglass. Okay.
結局
You didn't go to bed by 3 a.m. That did not happen. Aoko squinted as light poured through the window and she downed another cup of tea. She had lost count of exactly how many she had drank long ago.
一晩かかったね、大崎。
Yeah, he looks fine. Okay. Sojiro picked up on what she left unspoken. Aoko had used up all her pep. In staying up all night, but also in shouting at him. He looked pale and uncomfortable, just as he had all night long.
ええ、甘く見てたわ、あんたのこと。
だから褒めても何も出ないって。
that wasn't a compliment.
ある意味褒めるに値するかもね。
Oh. Okay. She was at the end of her rope, but she could not help the bit of pride that swelled up in her. What, the fact that he stuck it out to the end? His lack of even the most basic comprehension was shocking, even taking into account his upbringing in the wilderness. His ability was that of a middle school student, and that was being generous. Yeah, maybe like a first-year middle school student who's on the lower end of the grade scale. Preparing him for exams by teaching him new concepts and ideas was a waste of time. Rote memorization was his only hope for passing. Everything he memorized could collapse like a house of cards afterwards for all she cared, so long as he remembered for his exams. Assuming he had the capacity to be a good student in the first place had been her mistake. Yeah, no, that's kinda on you. It took all night to cover the content for just 4 exams, and she still didn't feel confident that he could apply what he so earnestly tried to memorize. Oh.
でもね、真面目なのはいいことだけど、あんた暗記するのに時間かかりすぎ。
He can't help it.
そこは多めに見てほしい。今まで頭より体で覚えることのが多かったんだ。
Yeah, I guess that would, yeah, because all the things you do in mountains is probably like physical work, so yeah, that makes sense. Aoko let out an exasperated sigh. Naturally, physical prowess mattered more in mountain life than the intellectual kind, but still.
まあいいわ。これで山城からあんたの成績について相談されることもないでしょうし。
You will see.
紅茶、もう一杯入れてくれる？
Sojiro stood up and obeyed, as Aoko stretched her aching back. She had apparently bought the tea bags in bulk, so there was still plenty to use.
まったく無駄遣いだな、青崎は。
What? He spoke under his breath so she wouldn't hear. It made him somehow happy to see her so tired and unfocused after the grueling all-night lesson she had given him. Yeah, I guess this would be a new side to her that you've never seen. It did not cross his mind that the excess tea bags, far from being an indulgent purchase, were purchased intentionally to sustain them through the night. Yeah. A relaxed expression came across Aoko's face as she watched him, naive and peaceful as could be.
悪くないけど、せめてリーフティーで入れられるように仕込まなくちゃダメかな。
What? You you know you only have him for like another what? 2 months and 3 weeks? Like I don't know. It seems kind of a waste to teach him something he's gonna end up forgetting. Seeming to have overheard her not-so-inner monologue, Sojiro made to face her.
やっぱり味は違うのか？
I've heard it does, actually. I've heard loose leaf. is very, very good. Like, way, like, I don't know, I've never had it, so I don't know if it's way better than bags, but I have heard it's at least marginally better. At the minimum, but I don't know, again, I haven't had loose leaf, so I wouldn't know.
違うもう全然。ま、正直私はどうでもいいんだけど、アリスはね、かなりお茶にはうるさいよ。
Okay, another idea to get on her good side.
そうだ、宗十郎、アリスとうまくいってる？
Aoko cheerfully slumped over the table, now covered with textbooks and scribble notes. Sojiro watched her with a hint of resentment in his eyes.
彼女と会えるのは食事の時だけで、食事と言ったらあれだろ？どうやって仲良くなれって言うんだ。
Yeah,
そう？私は十分脈ありだと思ったけど。そっちはアリスを怖がってないし、アリスはそっちを追い出す理由を見つけようと躍起になってるし。いい条件よ、これって。
I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't really think she is looking for a reason.
全然わからないな。あの子とこっちの関係は遊園地前の青崎と俺の関係と同じじゃないか。一体どこがいい条件なんだ？
You know, I guess it kind of is like that, huh? Like her just tolerating his presence and yeah, okay, I can see that.
とりあえず反目し合ってはいないでしょ。
Apparently.
一方通行の関係だけど、それはそれ。アリスにしちゃ上出来っていうか、理由を探している時点で可能性ありってね。
I suppose. I'm surprised you just bluntly said to off you. Like I'm like that's very straightforward. Very straightforward speech.
あの子は反感に応えることが癖になっちゃってるから、大抵相手を自滅させちゃうのよ。
Her ominous words only confused Sojiro further.
知ってしまえば単純な話なんだけどね、あの子の場合。
Uh-huh.
ただ、
Whether or not he could put it into practice was another story altogether.
難しいよ、青崎は。
Yeah. He carried their teacups back to the table as he spoke. Aoko picked hers up and took a sip as if to dispel her exhaustion.
でも確かに君の言う通りだ。俺はまだあの子の顔しか知らない。クオンジ・アリスという名前すら定かじゃないのは問題があるね。
He followed Aoko's lead and took a sip of his own. His cup contained not tea, but plain hot water. Why?
あの子のこと教えてほしい？
Aoko scrutinized him carefully as she sat. Most boys would have been captivated by her gaze in that moment. But Sojiro's just like, whatever.
いや、そういうことは本人に聞いてあげるべきだと思う。
Okay, good answer. I agree with that answer. But he ignored her and stared straight ahead as if speaking directly to Alice herself.
そうね。
Okay, seems like she's good with that answer too. So that's good.
ほんと、あんたってアリス好みの対応をするわ。ねえ、前から気になってたけど、客室でアリスに何を言ったの？いくら私との約束とはいえ、あの子が部外者を半日も放置するなんてありえないのよ。
Nothing much. He thought back to that moment. He could recall only 2 or 3 words he'd exchanged with Alice after awakening in the guest room. He didn't recall the conversation being anything special, but he couldn't bring himself to casually share it with Aoko now. Okay. After all, Yeah, it had to do with his neck bandage, so.
ねえ、どんなセリフであの子の気を変えたの？
Aoko eagerly pressed him for answers. But he ain't budging. Sojiro frowned, unsure of what to say. He didn't know what the interaction had been like for Alice, but for him it had felt special, sacred almost. The question was, why and for whom was he so concerned?
ほら、白状しなさいってば。隠し事なんて似合わないわよ。
I don't know where you got that from, Aoko, but no. Her disconcerting smile moved even closer. Sojiro did not look like he was able to stay silent much longer. As he would eventually come to realize, Aoko Awasaki had a sometimes troubling propensity to gossip.
まあ、あの子と何を話したかは言わないけど、今の青崎に比べれば花もロマンもなかったのだけは確かか。
What? I don't know if this is flirtatious, but I think she's just being, I guess her being like nice and normal is flirtatious to him. I guess. Okay.
さっきまでは青崎が鬼みたいだったからいいもんだなって気がつかなかった。
He stared directly into her eyes as he spoke. Aoko nearly leapt out of her seat in panic. Now that he pointed it out, she realized their bodies were practically touching.
仕方ないでしょ。この方が効率良かったんだから。
Right, of course you were.
あんた横にいないとすぐ間違えるし。
I mean, yeah. Aoko stood up as she lashed back at him.
そうだね。なんか昔みたいで久しぶりに集中できた。これが異例中の異例っていうのが本当に残念だ。
Right, exception among exceptions, huh? Sure, yep.
余裕あるじゃない。その分じゃ今日のテストだけじゃなく、アリスとの話し合いもうまくいきそうね、宗十郎。
Yeah, sure we will.
ああ、それはもちろん。
His cool response caught her off guard, and for a moment, she was at a loss for words. She meant it sarcastically, and yet he responded with a warm smile.
方針変更だ。まずは近くで話しかけてみるよ。嫌なことはいずれ終わるって分かったから。
I'm looking forward to that. Straight up him just talking to her, that should go interestingly. Aoko remained in a state of silent shock as he spoke and rose to his feet. She's like, wait, what the fuck just happened? She couldn't help but feel a reluctant respect for what seemed to be his newfound confidence and competence.
とりあえず今日は一人で帰ってアリスと話してみる。
Okay?
青崎は放課後生徒会だろ？
He was right. It was their last meeting before winter break. Normally, he would have waited until the meeting ended, or else gone straight to his part-time job. This was part of Aoko's plan to make sure he and Alice were never alone in a mansion together. Oh, it was... maybe him... No. I was gonna say maybe her seeing something outside of her window was in the future and we came back to the past, but maybe not.
待った。まさかあんた一人でアリスとやり合うつもりなの？
Yeah, I mean if he dies, he dies. If not, well, great.
別にやり合うつもりはないぞ。し合っても勝てないだろう、アリスには。
Yeah, I mean, at least you admit it. His reply made complete sense, which floored her.
でも青崎がいたら話が複雑になるのは目に見えてるんだ。そんなわけで今日はゆっくり飛び丸の相手でもしててくれ。
Bro, ain't no way he just called her out like that. Like, yeah, things are worse when you're here. Like, you know.
本気？
She's flabbergasted. Like, what the fuck? He felt like he was being tested, but nodded nonchalantly nonetheless. Knowing how grave the situation really was, Aoko wasn't sure how to respond to his apparent lack of concern. Yeah, I mean... Whew. The morning light coming through the window marked a stark contrast between the two. Which stood bathed in light, which lurked in darkness. That went without saying. The silence only lasted for a brief moment. Staring at him gravely, she said.
そう。なら止めはしないわ。
Okay, I guess today's the day we do the dang old thing. That was all she had. Her dry tone hid the significance of the pregnant silence, not revealing the slightest sign of discord.
なんか怒ってないか青崎。
I mean, why would she be?
別に。それで何か考えはあるの？下手な考えは通じないわよ、あの子には。
You know, just, Yeah, no, I don't know what he's thinking, to be honest. That's actually a really good question. Like, how are we gonna approach this? Sojiro furrowed his brow in deep thought. He knew it would be hard to get close to her through talk alone. In fact, it felt nearly impossible.
言葉で落ちないやつは物で釣れ。
I don't think we should do that. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Kinomi had been the voice of wisdom, and folly, for him countless times in the past. Incidentally, Kinomi had been referring to Aoko at the time he shared that pearl of wisdom. Yeah. But Sojiro had had the distinct impression that trying to buy Aozaki's kindness with gifts would not end well.
だいたいアリスの趣味もわからないじゃないか。
Sojiro, you might want to be careful with how you word things. Because how that's worded, like what she's into, that could be misconstrued. Maybe just how they translated it for the English version, but if not, and it comes off that way in Japanese too. Yeah.
考えてみると、今の自分と彼女はまるで接点がない。
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have nothing in common. That is a fact. Sojiro crossed his arms at a loss.
いつものことだけど、何も考えてなかったわけね。
Yeah, pretty much.
うん。でもまあ、あれこれ考えなくてもいいと思う。
Yeah, just go by feeling, right? That should work well. Right? right, Aoko?
アリスにはあれこれ説明するとか、分かってもらおうとか、そういうんじゃなくて、なんていうか。
He pondered intently as he tried to put his vague thoughts into something concrete. But he did not spend much time in thought. With a nod, he concluded.
要は、俺が彼女を好きかどうかってことじゃないか？
What does that mean? He articulated that which is often so hard to say with surprising clarity and calm. It was certainly a prerequisite for the task he hoped to achieve. I guess. He had no hope of making her appreciate him with words, or with acts of giving with the expectation of reciprocation. He simply wished to get to know her better, because he liked her. Oh. I get the feeling that he likes everybody. I don't know. That was his honest, uncontrived intention, and it reflected the purity of his heart. Yeah. But whether that was in his best interest or not was another story altogether. Yeah. Calculation and compromise. Selfishness and conflict. Purity such as his often irritated people who believed that morals went against human nature. Yeah, I can see that. Or rather, people who were inevitably forced to believe it. She's like, I don't know if this will go well. Aoko silently walked away without responding to what Sojiro said. Her long hair swung from side to side as she passed him.
Ozaki?
Noting her strangely cold manner, he called out to her. However, she was already opening the door to leave.
下でシャワー浴びてくるから、あなたは自分の部屋に戻ってて。
Okay. Her words lacked any expressive inflection. In his confusion, all Sojiro could do was nod.
いいけど、やっぱり怒ってないか、青崎。
I honestly can't tell with her right now. Emotion returned to her face as she spoke. Yet it wasn't the typical irritated look to which she had grown so accustomed.
そうね。あんた流に言えば、多分私は怒ってる。
Okay.
何に対してのものかは、あんまり言いたくないけど。
Right. It's weird. Poor Sojiro did not even realize that he himself was the reason. She looked at him, and for an instant he witnessed an emotion on her face of which she had never seen the likes of before.
じゃあね。これが最後になるかもしれないから、お別れぐらいは言っておくわ。
Oh, that's reassuring.
あなたはアリスを甘く見すぎてる。
You know, I don't think he does. But, sure.
でも、それが同時にあんたの強みなのよね。私たちには毒にしかならないけれど。
The door slammed loudly shut behind her. Her steps were audible as she walked away on the other side of the wall. The corridor must have been nearly freezing without any central heating, but Aoko seemed perfectly comfortable. Yeah.
なんで私から出ていくんだ
You know, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like, wow, did she really just left him in her room? Like, that's weird.
順番が逆普通先に出てくのはそっちじゃない
Aoko promptly kicked Sojiro out of her room. Bruh. The fucking... Bro, all the, like sprites and different, like, facial, like, or not animations, but facial, like, expressions they give them for, like, situations. It's so cool, man. It's so, like, well detailed. Like, this is, like, aggravation and embarrassment rolled into one. I don't know. I like it. Once again, the wooden door closed with a slam. The corridor was not as cold as he'd expected. Not quite as bad as a freezer, at least. Yeah, I guess anything would be better than a freezer.